I'm Joe Cook. That's Eric Naline. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you head to Inside Texas. Go ahead and use that first link in our description or that QR code at the top left of the screen to sign up for just $1. And that will get you not only access to Inside Texas, but 50% off of your first year. So come join, only half the price, all the best recruiting insight. That's our focus today. Team is on a little bit of vacation, finishing up their different academic chores. They'll be reporting at the end of the month, but recruiting never stops. And we've got a lot to go over, Eric, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but you hit the road. You got to see a few different high schools. We're going to start in these, I guess, what do you call it? The 288 corridor, not too far from, or actually in Manvel. You got to go check out Texas commit Greedy James, committed a year before his own signing day this past December. And there's been a little bit of intrigue with Greedy, not only as far as other schools really trying to get after him, but also where he might end up playing position-wise at Texas.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a ton of suitors right now. LSU's trying to get in the mix. Ohio State, Oregon recently offered. Notre Dame is trying to throw Texas for a loop. It's going to be a very competitive recruitment. Interesting. I was talking to a source. He's the college coach that's kind of he's paying attention to Texas's big board because it indirectly affects him. With what he's trying to do, the class he's trying to land, and he loves Greedy. He thinks outside of John Meredith, Greedy James is the second best corner in the state. And I said corner because that's where everybody's recruiting him for. Texas is recruiting that corner, and now it's whether or not they can hold on to. He's definitely happy with his Texas commitment, but he understands the business side of it, and other schools are pushing pretty hard.
It seems like, what do you always say? They're corners until they're not, or something like that. He has a lot of safety tape on his film. He has a lot of tape of him just being an athlete and being one of the better players on the field. But does he have the type of traits and then also maybe the mentality to where if corner doesn't work out, it's still going to work out at safety?
Yeah, I mean, safety, I think, is a good fail-safe, or maybe even nickel. I think nickel might be his best position at Texas. He's got really good skill, high-level skill, and he's smart. That goes a long way. Good anticipation, good length, and good short area quickness to match up on routes. I told him I saw some of your camp footage, and I was really blown away. I was like, I started thinking corner right then and there, and apparently the paid professionals beat me to it. So right now he's considered a corner at Texas.
Anybody else at Manvel catch your eye? Or are you ready to go across the freeway?
Oh man, there's all kinds of young guys there. Brayson Robinson is a 2028 edge that's going to camp at Texas at the end of this month. That looks like $1 million. Greedy was out of that practice with a very minor issue, and so he just stood there and pointed out everybody to me, and they're loaded. Marcus Tuiasosopo has two younger sons. One is quarterback, one is a tight end that Texas is probably going to be all over. Florida great Fred Weary, one of the better college defensive backs of the 90s. His son is a linebacker. I sent his information to Florida. I'm not sure they're aware of him. That kid is really good. Definitely somebody Florida should take a look at. Texas should take a look at too, I think. They're loaded. But yeah, you're right. It was funny being over there because I went to Shadow Creek first and then Manvel. Just because I was only going to be at Shadow Creek for a very brief time and hang out with coaches. I didn't see the players there. And you just remember that, Manvel used to have all these kids rather than splitting them between two schools.
Yeah, Shadow Creek, as you mentioned, one of the more talented programs. They got some other NFL legacies that I want to hear you talk about later as well. But we got to get to the Sharks. And Brandon Sherrard, I think, was the name you went and checked out over at Shadow Creek. Corner has kind of been, especially with Greedy James being recruited that position. Obviously, Texas is after guys like John Meredith. We got a few other names at corner to talk about, but Brandon Sherrard fits in there. What did you learn by talking with him?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a coincidence, but all four of my stops this week had corners to watch. And so, yeah, Brandon Sherrard was a big reason I went over to Shadow Creek, talked to Coach Glapian over there. LSU, this to me looks like a Texas versus LSU battle right now. And LSU is going to be a common theme because I just mentioned them with Greedy. They're trying to get him with a bunch of other corners too. They're pretty desperate for cornerbacks right now, so you got to kind of keep an eye on Corey Raymond and LSU. But Sherrard, I didn't talk to Sherrard. I did talk to the coaches. It seems to me like a Texas versus LSU battle. Oklahoma offered last week, and I think he just scheduled an official visit to them. They're a little bit late to build that relationship, but obviously you got to take notice of what they're doing. Right now I have that at Texas versus LSU. We'll see how it plays out. Cornerback numbers are basically the number one point of investigation for us this week. We'll see how. Let's keep talking through it, and you guys will see by the end of this segment why our head's spinning a little bit.
One little detour still at Shadow Creek. Didn't think Sharpstown's finest would go to LSU and Joseph Adai go play for the Colts and then come back, but he made his way back to the Houston area, lives in Shadow Creek, and he's got his son racking up offers as well for the Sharks.
Yeah, Jalen Adai is an absolute stud. I love that. I love the kid, but obviously just as an athlete, he's going to be potential 5-star, at least top 50 player in the country. Everybody's like, hey, you're wasting your time talking to that kid. He's going to LSU. I don't think that's set in stone yet. LSU has not been super aggressive with him so far. I think it's, maybe Lane's got his, obviously Lane's trying to get that 2027 class off and running. But it's not a foregone conclusion he'll end up at LSU. It's possible, especially with Lane's track record with wide receivers, which is that's what he is. He's not a running back like his dad. But I think if Texas makes a really good push, it's going to be interesting.
Thinking it's Joseph Adai, and then I think it is
BJ LaFell.
BJ LaFell, yeah, his son. But I'm thinking of Sharpstown products, and it is not Brooks Kieschnick. Oh, it's going to kill me. The other great Texas baseball player. Oh my gosh.
That's Sharpstown?
Yeah, it is. It's like a trivia question. It's like with your favorite with Ryan Bingham going to Westfield, and then with Roger Clemens going to Northwoods. Oh my gosh, this is going to.
Hey, speaking of Westfield, while you figure that out, I ran into Keandre Coburn at the Woodlands Mall last Saturday. He looked great. Keandre's never going to be a slim guy, but he was looking good for his body type.
Greg Swindell, that's who I was thinking of. I'm pretty sure.
Oh that just tells you what's like Greg Ostertag went to Duncanville.
And Governor Abbott as well. Yeah. And so, but back to cornerbacks, you go from south of I-10, south of the South Loop, all the way to north on the Sam Houston Tollway. You go to Atascocita, one of the better programs in state, has some Texas connections on the coaching staff. And you got to talk to a cornerback with an Oklahoma connection, but that may not be the biggest player in the recruitment, or may not make it a foregone conclusion he's going to end up in Crimson and Cream. Yeah,
you don't want to. It's Trent Blaylock. Texas, he hasn't been discussed enough this cycle based on everything I'm hearing right now. There's a decent chance he ends up in the class. He's certainly a major priority for the staff. He's probably 6'1", leanish, but wiry, strong build. Ran 10.43 this year. So speed, he has elite speed for cornerback. It's a speed family. His dad was a very fast running back, played for the Kansas City Chiefs, was a good NFL player, Derek Blaylock from East Texas. I'm watching Trent very closely. It's another one where LSU is trying to get in, probably too late. Corey Raymond's trying to use his track record. You could just, everybody I talked to, I kept hearing Corey Raymond popping up. But I like where Texas is with Blaylock. He is a relationships guy. That's why he's got Vanderbilt and Florida State. Vanderbilt's been on him for well over a year. Florida State's working him really hard too. But he's got other schools that are interested in him. These are just the schools he's focused on. And then of course there's OU, where his brother Torrey was a freshman running back last year. His best relationship is with Mark Orfe. He was very effusive in his praise for Orfe, the relationship, the relatability. Orfe reminds him of his position coach at Atascocita, who gets along with very well. I don't know, man. Texas seems like they're in a pretty sneaky position right now for him. And again, he is a priority for the staff.
Last but certainly not least, maybe one of the best players in the country, Fort Worth North Crowley. You were impressed by their practice, and you got to see John Meredith up close and personal, and got to hear a little bit about Texas standing with the 5-star cornerback.
Man, that North Crowley practice, you see why they are who they are. My Lord, the energy. They weren't in pads, and it was still physical. It was, man, and then athletes all over the place. But that mindset, the urgency that they move around with practice, They would look the defense going up against the offense. They didn't look like they were on the same team, man. They were trying to beat each other. And then afterwards, coach, hey, just leave it all on the field. We're all on the same team. They were going at it. Meredith, I feel like Texas is in a great spot for Meredith. A&M's got a very good class going. I just don't think that I'm not sure they're going to be able to get Meredith in that class. Miami took a cornerback the other day. We were watching Miami pretty closely. They flipped a Georgia kid, and that kind of crosses them off the list. I love where Texas is. Anybody putting in predictions for Texas right now, I think is well within their right.
Anybody else kind of in that cornerback mix you want to talk about before we switch over to some of the offensive big board?
Yeah, I mean, you got Montre Jackson, who's down to Texas and SMU. You've got Dylan McGee, who is Texas SMU as well. I know the staff loves McGee. They've been on Montre Jackson a long time. There are just corners. This is testament to Mark Orfe putting together a really big board. You want a really good big board. You want to have these tough conversations like, geez, man, how are we going to figure out these numbers? Orfe in his second cycle, his real first cycle at Texas, he's got some good first world problems right now. All these guys are long. And I think, it's almost impossible that they won't end up with an exceptional class.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor, that is Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
All right, after going over all the different machinations of cornerback recruiting, we're going to go over the entire offense. You posted something on Inside Texas earlier today. Look at what you have kind of gathered to be pretty close to the Texas offensive big board. We'll go through quarterback real fast. Elite 11 invite Ty Knutson. No more in the class. Texas is good at quarterback. Anything to add there before we jump to running back?
Nope. I mean, as far as just understanding the big board, we know the quarterback big board. That's done and dusted. On the running back.
Running back, Texas has Noah Roberts committed. Picked that one up, I think, last week from Chandler, Arizona. Jabbar Jaluk wants 2 in the class. A couple of the guys he's been talking to are committed to other programs, or at least guys to keep eyes on are committed to other programs. But the big name that everybody wants to know a little bit more about, that is Landon Williams-Callis. What's going on with Texas and LWC?
Yeah, Texas is definitely trailing behind that one. It's probably been Oregon A&M for a year. That relationships matter there, and Jabbar Jaluk got in a little bit late. He's only been at Texas since December, and that kid has been known forever, for years. And so, I don't see anything really developing there. At least right now, it doesn't seem to be. They got Noah Roberts, who is a 3-down back. You never have to take that kid off the field. He's good. He'll be able to play as a true freshman. That's already part of the expectations for him. But they do want to take 2, as they have been the last few years. Or that's always been the goal under Sark. Who that second back is remains to be seen. They went by and saw Lathan Wissington earlier in the cycle, around January, February. We were thinking it was going to be either Roberts or Wissington. Obviously, it went with Roberts, and Notre Dame got Wissington, and he's very good. But he's happy with that commitment. So right now we're kind of in wait and see. And running back is a position where players tend to they often burst on the scenes late. Josh Jacobs is the best example of that. That guy went from no offers to being drafted in the first round in a few years. Ronald Jones was late to the scene. He ended up going, I think, in the second round. So it happens. Jonathan Brooks was a guy that kind of popped on late and then never really blew up like he should have. So I think they can keep their powder dry and just wait and see and find another Jet Walker.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I was about to. Moving to wide receiver, Easton Royal. Justin's been all over that one. Went to see him at Baton Rouge at the track meet, the Louisiana State track meet. Obviously, Ole Miss, LSU, but Florida, they're all going to be trying to come after Easton Royal. But Texas feels like they're in a good spot to hang on to him and keep him in this class.
Yeah, Justin did an awesome job last week at his state track meet, fighting through the rain and all that. He didn't do as good as Royal, who was running like 10-1-7 in the rain. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that recruitment myself on my own end, just about Texas's confidence. They just feel like they have a really good relationship in place with everybody that they need to. Now, it's pins and needles just because of the nature of the game. Even before NIL, this would be a tough one, right? You got to pull him out of his own backyard, and Lane Kiffin has a compelling sell. But we like Texas for now. We'll see. I think he's not going to really shut it down until July. So, official visits will matter and maybe some final negotiation. Who knows? But right now we feel pretty good about Texas. We know that there's a lot of conventional wisdom out there saying he's going to flip. That's certain. It 100%. That's not a foregone conclusion. I know that. I can't guarantee with certainty that he'll end up at Texas, but right now I still feel good about it.
Good news on one 5-star kind of leads to not as good news on another. We saw Monson Sales, who's from Indianapolis, got a RPM prediction from Steve Wiltfong to stay home and play for the Hoosiers. It always felt like getting both those guys in this class was going to be a little bit of a task.
Yeah.
But that also coincides with the fact that you put in an RPM earlier this morning for Texas to eventually add a wide receiver in Bryson Thrower to its class.
Yeah, when I first started really diving into this class, 3 players that kind of became my guys, the guys I wanted Texas to get, and this was even before we even knew that how hard they were going to pursue them. I was just looking at who they had offered, and these 3 stand out to me. It was Noah Roberts at running back, check, Bryson Thrower at wide receiver, and Brian Swanson on the offensive line. And maybe I've got some I've got telepathy with whoever's making those decisions at Texas, because they're doing the same thing. They like the same guys, so they got on Thrower right when they needed to, sort of right before I think he blew up. Ohio State came after him for a while. Right now, Illinois is coming after him, which is kind of odd, but it's NIL era. We got 5 stars committing to Indiana. So and A&M's been after him, but we don't think it's going to be A&M. So I like the kid, big, strong, fast. He just really pops on tape to me. And, I put an RPM for him. I think it's going to end up being Texas. And that's a really good 1-2 punch between him and Royal, assuming they can hold on to Royal. That's good speed. He doesn't have 10-1-7 speed, but he's plenty fast.
I think Illinois has got some Texas high school football connections with Barry Looney. He was at UTSA for a while. I think there's a few more.
Yeah, Joe Price in there.
Yeah,
I think Joe Price, who was at North Shore for a long time. Yeah, these. It's funny, we're about to talk about tight end in a minute. Go where they are. Texas started looking in the Midwest at tight ends, and if you're in Illinois, come down south. Look at the track speed down here. You got guys finishing 15th that are only like 10.6. Just come down here where the speed is.
Going to tight end, JT Geraci has been in the class for a good while from Don Bosco Prep up in New Jersey. Texas likes taking 2 tight ends, and Jeff Banks, maybe later today, maybe in about an hour, could be adding, I think, what would be the highest ranked tight end he has added. I don't remember if they kept Townsend as an athlete the whole time. But
I think he will be the highest no matter what. That's how we're reporting it. Jeff Banks lands his highest. I'm still not going to say Jeff Banks lands his best tight end, because I'm still a big believer in Nick Townsend. But I will say this: they're landing their best receiving threat tight end, and I say that with a lot of respect towards Emery Winston's hands and catch radius and all that. Despite his frame, Emery can go get the ball. This guy looks like I'm not saying Mark Andrews, but sort of like Mark Andrews, Grant Calcaterra. OU was landing these guys for a while that were playing flexed tight end a lot. That look just like jumbo wide receivers. He does have willingness to block, but his strength is obvious as a receiving tight end. So I think it's definitely safe to say that he's got his safest and maybe most impressive pure receiving tight end of the era, assuming that they get him in the next hour or so.
Yeah, we'll all be tuned into the Pat McAfee show. So that should be a lot of fun. Moving on
to done this without our sleeves, man. We should have done that segment without our sleeves.
Man. Stand up, get the mic, and just start going all in on that type of thing. Offensive tackle. There is one name that's above the rest. That's Ismail Kamara from Gilmer. Just a very unique recruitment, but one that Texas has been doing a lot of very good work on, as well as other schools like Oregon, but one that Texas has done basically everything right so far in order to try and put him into this class.
Yeah, here's another one. Justin's been all over, and we just got a text saying he just posted an update. So I want to go read it, even though we've been comparing notes, yesterday, last night, and this morning on it. Yeah, there's a lot of people thinking or just assuming that's going to be Oregon, and Oregon is in a good place. It's going to be a school with a big brand. There's no doubt about that. No offense to SMU, it's not going to be SMU. I don't think it's going to be A&M. He does like Kamara does like A&M a fair amount. There's no doubt about that. But it's really going to boil down to Texas and Oregon. There's a long way to go on it, but Texas sets up great. I like where Texas is. I know there's a lot of concern when Texas is back against the wall to land a guy. They typically come through, not always, but typically. Oregon, of course, is a tough out. They've got a lot of NIL, a lot of good opportunities with NIL. They've been doing a good job developing offensive line as well. But right now, I feel good about Texas. They got to get it done, cross the line, and all that. But I think Texas is in a good spot.
As far as other tackle options, we've been talking a lot about Brian Swanson on this channel on Inside Texas for a while, but Texas has put out some other offers in the past month or so, including I may mispronounce this, Caleb Seiler at Gunter. Also been talking a lot with Jasper and Ngakwe at Richardson. Have a couple out-of-state offers as well to some offensive tackles, but it feels like they don't have to go too far from home in order to find another tackle in this class.
Yeah, Kyle Flood, say what you want about him. How well does he correct off of the realities of his big board, when guys go elsewhere? But he is every year he's put together a good big board. And this year is no different. Outside of Kamara, I love Swanson. He's going to play tackle. He's 6'6", 310, 6'5" 3/4", 310. Big old guy, 33 plus arms. He got the arm length, everything, I think 34-inch arms. I saw the numbers. Good player. I think Texas is in a very good spot for him. I expect him to be in the class. Ngakwe is maybe the most intriguing guy outside of Kamara from a raw athleticism, length standpoint. He's got like 35-inch arms. He ran a 5 40. Just a lot of uncommon stuff going on with him. Seiler, I love Seiler as a guy that, look, he's not going to expect to play immediately. Just stash and store him, put him in the smoker. Let that guy get up to 310 pounds. And if he keeps, some of the movement skills that he has in the bend, he plays with great bend for being such a tall guy. I love the fact that he plays against lower classification. He's got to get lower to get square on these defensive guys, and he can do it. So obviously it's not a good indicator of his strength because he's going up against smaller guys, but it is a good indicator of his bend because he's going up against guys that are like 6'1". He's got to get low and get them.
Yeah, you could kind of tell just by watching his film that, yeah, there's some rawness to his game, but he positions his body pretty well.
He can play with leverage. He can play with leverage. He plays with the flat back at 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is. So that guy's good. I'd be, if you get Kamara, Swanson, and Seiler, they're all three different types of guys, but they all fit within the sort of the expectations of development. Like Seiler's going to be a little bit longer. Swanson could play guard for probably a year and then kick out. Kamara can probably play as a true freshman, maybe at guard or maybe even at right tackle. So there's three different types of takes. Hopefully they can get those three. Or I love Kalel Johnson, and again, Ngakwe is super intriguing.
Texas, last but not least, offensive line, kind of on the interior. They have Jackson Cook from Austin Westlake, Keon Hemphill Woods from Columbus. Looking out of state for some of their other options on the interior, Reed Ramsier, coast to coast. Reed Ramsier from Orlando, Lincoln Mageo from California, and Lucas Roa also from California. Kind of the three that have coalesced as main targets here for the interior coming into official visit season.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do here. I would probably take a little bit higher numbers on interior because, they don't come – a lot of the interior guys don't come with the same sure-footedness you would with the more elite offensive tackles that they're taking. Obviously, Seiler isn't rated all that highly, but last year, Turntine looks great already. The more higher-rated offensive tackles you expect to hit on. If you take more, high 3, low 4-star guards, I think you're more likely to hit on them. So I think they should take 2 of them. Maybe they'll only take 1. But they set themselves up. Get one of those 3 and put them with Hemphill Wood at guard. I think Cook is going to play center. You got yourself the makings of a really good offensive line, future offensive line. Each guy has a clear fit.
My power just started flashing, so I'm surprised it's still going. So I think that's a good time to encourage everybody, come over to Inside Texas. We'll be talking about all this info over there on the message board. Use that first link in our description or use that QR code at the top left of the screen. Sign up for $1 and then get 50% off your first year. Eric, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Inside the Program.